The injured stranger. The battlefield was silent now. Only smoke curled into the sky, and the ground was littered with broken machines, shattered weapons, and bodies. The war between humans and the alien empires had been brutal, and this place was just one more forgotten graveyard. Aaron moved carefully through the ruins, his boots crunching over burned soil. He wore no heavy armor like the soldiers. He wore the white band of a medic, stained now with blood and dirt. His orders were clear. Find survivors. Help those who could be saved. But deep inside, Aaron knew the truth. Few survived battles like this. Still he searched. He moved past a fallen tank, its metal twisted and blackened by fire. His medical scanner beeped faintly, picking up a weak life sign nearby. Aaron tensed. A life sign in a place like this could mean anything. A wounded soldier, a dying enemy, or a trap. Slowly, he followed the signal to a pile of broken debris. And, there, half buried under a piece of shattered armor, he saw her, an alien girl. She was young, maybe his age or a little younger. Her armor was royal, fine, detailed, unlike the rough gear of normal soldiers. The deep purple symbol on her chest marked her as someone important. Aaron's heart skipped. The alien king's house. This was not just a soldier, this was royalty. And if he remembered correctly, the king's daughter was rumored to be a rebel, a wild spirit who had spoken against the endless wars. Aaron knelt beside her, blood stained her silver skin. Her breathing was shallow, a soft rattle in her throat. One leg was twisted at a wrong angle. Deep cuts lined her arms. Her beautiful face was smeared with dirt and blood, but even broken, she looked fierce. Aaron hesitated. Helping her could be a death sentence. If Human Command found out he saved the alien king's daughter, they would call him a traitor. If the aliens found him with her, they might kill him without a second thought. He should walk away. Leave her to die, like everyone else had. It would be safer, easier. But as he looked down at her broken form, something inside him rebelled against the thought. He was a medic. He had sworn to heal the wounded, not choose sides. With a deep breath, Aaron reached for his medical pack. He cleaned her wounds carefully, working fast but gentle. He wrapped her broken leg, injected a healing serum into her veins, and checked her breathing. She groaned softly, her head turning slightly. Alive. Barely. He needed to move her. Staying here was too dangerous. Aaron looked around, spotting an abandoned shelter nearby. A half-destroyed building still standing against the chaos. He slipped his arms under her, lifting her as gently as he could. She was lighter than he expected, fragile but strong in her own way. He carried her across the battlefield, every step heavy with the weight of what he was doing. His mind raced. What if someone saw? What if she woke and attacked him? What if the war found them again before he could save her? Inside the shelter, Aaron found a small corner hidden behind broken walls. He laid her down carefully, covering her with his jacket to keep her warm. He set up a small scanner to monitor her vital signs. Her pulse was weak but steady. Aaron sat back, wiping sweat from his forehead. He had done all he could for now. He pulled out a ration bar and took a small bite, trying to calm his nerves. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the ruins. Aaron checked the scanner again. Still alive. Still fighting. Just like him. He leaned back against the wall, exhaustion pulling at him. But he didn't sleep. He kept watch. Because somewhere deep inside, he knew that saving her would change everything, and not just for him. Somewhere beyond the ruins and the smoke, destinies were shifting. An injured stranger, a human medic. Two lives crossing paths in a broken world, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The choice of mercy. The night fell heavy over the battlefield, and a cold wind whispered through the broken stones. Aaron sat close to the injured alien girl, his pulse pistol resting on his lap. He had treated her wounds, wrapped her broken leg, and given her enough medicine to ease her pain. But now, the harder decision loomed over him. Should he leave her here? Should he risk everything, his mission, his future, To save an enemy? Aaron ran a tired hand through his messy hair. The rules were clear. No help for enemies, no exceptions. If command found out, he would be labeled a traitor, stripped of his badge, maybe even thrown into prison. He stared at the girl lying unconscious under his jacket. She didn't look like a monster. She looked like a survivor, even wounded and broken. There was a strength in her face, something proud and unyielding. Who was she really? Stories of the alien king's rebellious daughter had spread across the human camps. They said she had stood against her father, spoken out against endless wars, dared to ask for peace. And for that, she had been punished, hunted, even by her own people. Was that true? Or just another rumor in a war full of lies? Aaron didn't know. But he knew this. She was alone. She was hurt. And if he walked away now, she would die. A groan escaped her lips. Aaron tensed. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first. Then, suddenly sharp and bright. She tried to move, pain flashing across her face. Her hand reached for something. A weapon, maybe. But she found nothing. Her gaze locked onto Aaron. She bared her teeth in a weak, defiant snarl. Aaron raised his hands slowly, palms open. "Easy," he said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you." Of course, she didn't understand his words, but maybe she understood the gesture. She stopped struggling, though her silver eyes stayed hard and suspicious. Aaron reached into his bag slowly and pulled out a water pouch. He offered it to her. She hesitated, her breathing fast and shallow. Aaron set the pouch down beside her and backed away a few steps, giving her space. The alien girl watched him closely. Finally, after a long moment, she reached out with a trembling hand and took the water. She drank in slow, cautious sips. Aaron felt a knot loosen inside his chest. Trust would not come easily, but maybe it could come. A distant sound made him freeze. The low hum of an approaching ship. Not a rescue ship. A patrol. Human or alien. He couldn't tell from the sound. Either way, if they found her, she was finished, and if they found him with her. Aaron looked at her again, weak, injured, but still alive, still fighting. He made his decision. Quickly, he packed up his supplies. He knelt beside her and tapped his chest. "Aaron," he said clearly. Then he pointed at her, raising an eyebrow in silent question. The alien girl hesitated. Then, in a raspy, broken voice, she spoke one word. "Kayla." Aaron smiled. "Kayla," he repeated. She blinked at him, surprised. "Another. Sound closer now. No more time." Aaron slipped his arms under her gently. She tried to resist, weakly pushing against him. "Shh," he murmured. "Trust me." Again, she could not understand his words, but after a moment, her body relaxed. She let him lift her. Cradling her carefully, Aaron moved out of the ruined building, staying in the shadows. He found a narrow path leading away from the battlefield, hidden by fallen trees and thick smoke. He moved fast but carefully, his heart pounding with every step. Behind them, lights flashed across the ruins as the patrol arrived. Soldiers shouted in sharp, angry voices. They were searching. If they found any survivors, they would not ask questions. Aaron slipped deeper into the shadows, carrying Kayla as if his life, and hers, depended on it. Because it did. After what felt like hours, he found a broken drainage tunnel leading underground. He slipped inside, the smell of damp earth filling his nose. Safe. For now. He set Kayla down gently against the wall. She watched him, her eyes wary, but no longer full of fear. Aaron leaned back, breathing hard. He had crossed a line. There was no going back. He had chosen mercy. He had chosen to save an enemy. He didn't know what would happen next. But as Kayla closed her eyes and drifted into uneasy sleep, Aaron felt no regret. Sometimes, doing the right thing was the hardest choice, and sometimes it was the only choice worth making. Awakening distrust. The drainage tunnel was cold and damp. Water dripped from cracks in the ceiling, echoing in the narrow space. Faint light filtered in through broken vents, casting long, trembling shadows on the walls. Aaron sat near Kyla, watching her sleep. He checked the scanner strapped to his wrist. Her vitals were weak but stable. He allowed himself a small sigh of relief, but he knew this peace was fragile. Outside, soldiers and hunters still searched the battlefield. If they found the tunnel, there would be no mercy. Aaron leaned his head back against the wall, closing his eyes for a moment. He hadn't planned for this. His mission had been simple: heal human soldiers, gather supplies, move on. Now he was a fugitive, protecting an enemy princess. A soft sound made him open his eyes. Kayla was stirring. Her fingers twitched against the dirty ground. Her eyes fluttered open, cloudy at first, then sharp with awareness. She sat up slowly, wincing as pain flared through her body. Her silver gaze locked onto Aaron. There was no gratitude in her eyes, only suspicion. Aaron raised his hands in a peaceful gesture. "Easy," he said softly. "You're safe." Of course she didn't understand. Kayla's eyes narrowed. She touched the bandages on her arm, the healing patches on her side. Realization flickered across her face. He had saved her. But why? She didn't trust him. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Slowly, Kayla shifted away from him, pressing her back against the wall. Her hand brushed against a broken metal rod lying near the floor. She closed her fingers around it without making a sound. Aaron saw it. He didn't react. He understood. To her, he was still the enemy, someone who could turn on her at any moment. Aaron spoke again, his voice low and calm. "I'm not here to hurt you." He pointed to himself. "Aaron." Then to her. "Kayla." He smiled gently. For a long moment she stared at him, the metal rod hidden in her hand. The silence stretched tight between them. Then she dropped the rod. It clattered softly against the floor. Trust, not complete, not full. But a beginning. Aaron reached into his pack and pulled out a ration bar. He tore it in half, offering one piece to her. Kayla hesitated, then took it. She sniffed it suspiciously before taking a small bite. Aaron ate his half, slowly, showing her it was safe. They sat in silence, chewing the dry food, listening to the distant sounds of war above them. After a while, Kayla pointed to his scanner, tilting her head in question. Aaron showed it to her. The small screen displayed her vital signs: heart rate, oxygen levels, healing rate. Kayla frowned. Then slowly she touched the screen, tracing the lines with her fingertip. Understanding dawned in her eyes. He wasn't tracking her. He was helping her. Still, distrust lingered in the air. Years of war, betrayal, and pain couldn't be erased with a meal and a smile. Aaron knew that. He didn't expect her to trust him overnight. He just needed her to believe he wasn't her enemy. He leaned back again, closing his eyes, pretending to sleep. He left himself vulnerable. It was a risk, but it was also a message. He trusted her, even if she didn't trust him yet. Time passed slowly. The air grew colder. Outside, distant explosions shook the ground, but inside the tunnel, a fragile peace settled between them. When Aaron opened his eyes again, he found Kayla still awake, still watching him, but her body was relaxed now. The metal rod lay forgotten beside her. Her hand rested lightly on her injured side, and there was a softness in her eyes he hadn't seen before. Not trust. Not yet. But maybe acceptance. Aaron smiled at her. A small, tired smile. Kayla didn't smile back, but she didn't look away either. In the broken silence of a ruined world, two enemies sat side by side. Not as friends. Not yet. But no longer as strangers. And sometimes, that was how hope began. Secrets behind the rebellion. The darkness inside the tunnel felt heavier as the hours passed. Aaron and Kayla stayed hidden, speaking little, trusting silence more than words. Yet in that silence, something had shifted between them, something quiet and fragile. Outside, the distant sounds of engines echoed again, a reminder that danger still hunted them. Aaron sat close to the entrance, sharpening a broken piece of metal into a crude blade. Kayla sat across from him, wrapping a cloth around her wounded arm. After a while, Kayla moved closer, sitting just a few steps away. She tapped her chest lightly. "Kayla," she said again, her voice stronger now. Aaron smiled, nodding. "Kayla," he repeated. She pointed at him. "Aaron," he said. A small flicker of approval passed through her silver eyes. Then slowly, carefully, Kayla began to speak. Her voice was soft and halting, mixing broken human words with her own language. Aaron listened carefully, piecing together her meaning. Kayla had once been the pride of her father's court. Strong, brave, respected. Trained to be a leader, a warrior. But when the war between humans and aliens had started, she had seen something no one else dared to speak of. She had seen prisoners treated like animals. She had seen villages burned because they chose peace over fighting, and she had questioned it. Why did her people fight a war that only brought suffering? Why destroy when they could rebuild? At first, she had spoken quietly, only to her closest advisors. Then louder, during council meetings. Then openly, challenging the king himself. And for that, she had been branded a traitor. Her own guards had turned on her. Her own father had ordered her capture. Kayla touched the torn royal symbol on her armor, her fingers trembling slightly. Betrayed not by enemies, but by her own blood. Aaron felt his chest tighten as he listened. He had seen the horrors of war too. He had treated soldiers who cried for mercy. He had bandaged wounds that would never heal. He had watched brave men and women die for reasons they barely understood. He reached out slowly, placing his hand over Kayla's. She stiffened at first, then relaxed just slightly. "You are not alone," Aaron said softly, even though he knew she might not understand the full words. But maybe she understood the meaning. Kayla looked at him, studying his face carefully. Trust, fragile and uncertain, flickered in her eyes. Then, her gaze hardened again. She pointed toward the tunnel entrance. "Danger," she said, voice low. Aaron nodded grimly. He understood. Both of them were hunted now, by aliens who saw Kayla as a rebel, and by humans who would see her as nothing but a prize. They had no allies, only each other, and trust, once given, could mean the difference between life and death. Kayla pulled a small device from a hidden pocket in her armor, a broken communicator. She showed it to Aaron, frowning. If they could fix it, they might be able to call for help. But the risks were high. A wrong signal could expose their location to every bounty hunter on the planet. Aaron studied the device carefully. He wasn't an engineer, but he could try. He nodded slowly. Kayla handed it over without hesitation, a silent message. She trusted him with her life. Aaron worked quickly, fingers moving with careful speed. Outside, the night deepened. The wind howled through the broken city. Danger moved closer with every passing second. But inside the tunnel, hope was building, fragile but real. They were not just medic and princess anymore. They were survivors. Fighters. Two broken souls choosing each other in a world that had chosen to destroy them. And as Aaron connected the final wire and the communicator blinked weakly, to life he knew one thing for certain. They would not give up. Not now. Not ever. Hunted by both sides, the communicator in Aaron's hand blinked weakly, sending out a small, broken signal into the cold night sky. Kayla watched him closely, her body tense. Both of them knew what this meant. Someone would hear the call. But they didn't know who would answer. Aaron set the communicator aside carefully and moved closer to the tunnel entrance. He peered out into the ruined city. The streets were silent under the stars. But silence didn't mean safety. Kayla shifted closer, crouching beside him. She had tied a torn piece of cloth around her waist, hiding the royal symbol on her armor. They had to move. Staying hidden in one place was too dangerous now. Aaron helped Kayla to her feet. She winced, her injury still raw, but she nodded firmly. They moved together through the broken streets, staying low, avoiding open spaces. Every shadow felt like a threat. Every distant noise made them freeze. Then, from behind a shattered wall came the first attack. A sharp blast of energy sizzled past them, striking the stone with a flash of light. Aaron pushed Kayla down just in time. Armed figures emerged from the darkness, human bounty hunters, faces hidden by helmets, weapons ready. Aaron cursed under his breath. He had hoped to find help. Instead, the signal had called predators. "There they are!" one of the hunters shouted. Kayla pulled herself up, gripping a sharp piece of metal like a dagger. Aaron fired back with his small pulse pistol, forcing the hunters to duck. "This way!" he shouted to Kayla, grabbing her hand. They ran. Bullets and energy bolts tore through the night around them. They ducked into an alley, weaving between broken walls and overturned vehicles. Kayla stumbled once, her leg too weak, but Aaron caught her before she fell. They kept running. Ahead, more shapes moved. Tall, armored, inhuman, alien soldiers. Kayla froze, her eyes wide with horror. They wore the crest of her father's personal guard. The same men who had hunted her, betrayed her. Now humans and aliens alike closed around them, two deadly forces united by greed and fear. Aaron pulled Kayla into a crumbling building, heart pounding. "We have to fight," he said, knowing she couldn't understand but hoping she would see the meaning in his face. Kayla nodded grimly. She crouched beside a pile of rubble, her makeshift dagger ready. Aaron checked his pistol. 2 shots left. Not enough. They heard the hunters closing in. Their footsteps were slow, confident. They thought they had trapped them, but they didn't know Kayla, and they didn't know Aaron. As the first hunter stepped through the broken doorway, Kayla moved. Fast as lightning. She struck, driving her dagger into the weak point in the hunter's armor. He fell with a grunt. Aaron fired, dropping another. Chaos exploded. Shouts. Gunfire. The clash of metal and flesh. Aaron and Kayla fought side by side, moving with a rhythm born of desperation and trust. For every enemy that fell, more came. Aaron was tackled to the ground by a heavy armored alien. He struggled, the alien's claws digging into his arm. Then Kayla was there, slamming a broken pipe into the alien's helmet. Aaron rolled free and pulled her with him, blood running down his side. They crashed through a broken window and into the street beyond. No time to rest, no time to think. They ran again. Behind them, the hunters and soldiers cursed and followed. Aaron knew they couldn't keep this up, not forever. They needed a real plan. They needed a miracle. And then, through the smoke and the rubble, he saw it. An old maintenance tunnel entrance, half hidden by debris. There. He gasped. They dove into the tunnel just as a blast scorched the ground where they had stood. Darkness swallowed them. Safe. For now. Aaron leaned against the wall, panting. Kayla dropped beside him, her chest rising and falling fast. They looked at each other, battered, bleeding, but alive. Still standing, still fighting. The galaxy wanted them dead. Both their people wanted them dead. But in that moment, in the darkness of a forgotten world, they chose something stronger than fear. They chose each other. And sometimes, that was enough to change everything. The bond forged in fire. The tunnel stretched deep under the ruined city, cold and dark. Aaron and Kayla moved slowly, their footsteps echoing against the damp stone walls. Every sound felt too loud, every breath was a risk. Behind them, distant shouts and footsteps faded into the night. For now, they had escaped. But escape was not survival. Aaron stumbled against the wall, pain flaring in his side where the alien soldier's claws had ripped through his jacket. Kayla noticed. Without a word, she helped him sit down against the cold wall. Her hands were steady as she ripped a strip from her cloak and pressed it against his wound. Aaron winced but smiled. "You're getting good at this," he whispered. Kayla didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. Her lips curved into the smallest smile. She tied the cloth tightly, stopping the bleeding. Aaron leaned his head back, breathing hard. He watched Kayla move around the tunnel entrance, checking for threats, setting traps from broken debris. She was quick, smart, careful. Not a helpless princess, a survivor. He felt a deep respect for her, growing stronger every moment. They sat together for a while, sharing a piece of stale ration bread and sipping from a cracked water bottle. The silence between them was not heavy now, it was easy, comfortable. After some time, Kyla pulled a small battered device from her pocket. It was an old hologram projector, cracked and barely working. She fiddled with it for a few minutes, then a soft, flickering image appeared in the air. A picture of a city, glowing under twin suns. Not a city of war, a city of peace. Children laughing, families sitting in gardens, traders selling colorful goods in busy streets. Kayla touched the hologram gently, her eyes distant. This was her dream. Not war. Not death. Life. Aaron felt his throat tighten. He reached into his own pocket and pulled out a crumpled photo. His younger brother, standing proudly in front of a school building on Earth. Smiling, wide. He showed it to Kayla. She studied it carefully, then smiled softly. Two people from different worlds. Two people who had lost everything to a war they never wanted. Yet here they were, alive, still dreaming of something better. Aaron looked at her seriously. He tapped his chest. "Friend," he said clearly, then pointed to her. "You. Friend." Kayla stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Friend," she whispered. The bond between them, built through fear, pain, and survival, became something more, not just alliance, not just trust. Real friendship. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the tunnels. Aaron jumped to his feet, wincing. Kayla grabbed her makeshift weapon. Shadows moved at the far end of the tunnel. More bounty hunters, their flashlights slicing through the darkness. No time to run. No time to hide. Aaron and Kayla pressed their backs to the wall. Weapons. Ready? They shared one quick look, full of understanding. Fight together, or die together. The first hunter rounded the corner. Aaron fired, striking him squarely. Kayla moved like a shadow, silent and deadly, taking down another before he could raise his weapon. The air filled with shouts and gunfire. Aaron fought like he never had before, not for medals, not for orders, but for Kayla. Kayla fought too, for herself, for Aaron, for the dreams they both carried inside their broken hearts. The battle was fierce, brutal. Aaron was thrown to the ground by a heavy blow. The world spun around him. He saw a hunter raising his weapon toward Kayla. He didn't think. He threw himself forward, shoving her out of the way. The blast meant for her hit him instead. Pain exploded in his side. He collapsed, gasping. Kayla screamed, a raw, terrible sound. She fought harder, faster, taking down the last of the hunters with desperate, burning fury. When the dust settled, she crawled to Aaron's side. His breathing was shallow. Blood soaked his side, but he smiled at her weakly. "Worth it," he whispered. Kayla's hand shook as she pressed against his wound, trying to stop the bleeding. Tears filled her eyes. For the first time in a long, long time, someone had chosen her over everything else. Not because of duty, not because of orders, because they cared, because they believed she deserved to live. The bond between them, forged through fire and blood, was unbreakable now. No army could tear it apart. No king's command could break it. Two souls, battered and bleeding, had found something no war could destroy. Trust, hope, family. And as Kayla leaned over him, whispering promises in her own language, Aaron closed his eyes, trusting her completely. He had saved her, and now she would save him. Whatever it took. The surprising reward. The sun was rising when they finally stumbled out of the tunnels. Aaron leaned heavily against Kayla, each step a battle. His wounds were deep, but Kayla supported him with all the strength she had left. The city ruins stretched before them, silent and broken under the pale morning light. For a long time, they walked without speaking, each breath a painful reminder of how close they had come to death. Then, on the far edge of the ruins, a soft humming filled the air. A ship, not a hunter's ship, not a war cruiser. A small, sleek vessel marked with a symbol neither human nor alien, a symbol of freedom fighters, those few who still believed peace was possible. Kayla's hidden allies. Relief flooded her face. They had made it. As the ship landed, figures in light armor rushed toward them, not soldiers, but healers, rescuers. Gentle hands lifted Aaron onto a stretcher, crushing him into the ship's care. Kayla followed closely, never letting him out of her sight. Inside, the ship was warm and clean, filled with the soft sounds of medical machines and quiet voices. Aaron drifted in and out of consciousness as medics worked to save him. Kayla sat beside him, her hand wrapped around his, refusing to let go. Hours later, Aaron opened his eyes properly. The pain was still there, but it was distant now, muffled by medicine and safety. Kayla smiled down at him, tears shining in her silver eyes. "You stayed," he whispered, voice rough. She nodded. No words were needed. A human officer entered the room, a man with kind eyes and a weathered face. He spoke softly to Aaron. "You saved her," he said. "You gave her something no one else could." Aaron tried to speak, but the officer shook his head. "You don't have to explain," he said. "You have earned more than you know." Kayla stood and faced the officer, speaking quickly in her own language. The officer listened, then smiled. He turned back to Aaron. "She has made a request," he said. Aaron blinked tiredly. "A request?" The officer nodded. "She wants you to stay with her, not as a servant, not as a soldier, as her most trusted advisor, her protector, her family." Aaron's heart twisted. He thought of the endless battlefields, the endless running. He thought of the loneliness he had carried inside him for so long. And he looked at Kayla. Fierce, brave, kind. Someone who had fought her own people for what she believed was right. Someone who had chosen him not because she had to, but because she wanted to. He smiled. A real, full smile. "Yes," he said. Kayla's face lit up. It was not the reward he had ever expected. It was something better. A new life. A new purpose. Together, they would help rebuild a world broken by war. They would fight for peace, for freedom, not as enemies, not as strangers, but as family. The ship lifted into the sky, leaving the ruins far behind. The stars stretched out before them, endless and full of possibility. Aaron closed his eyes, feeling Kayla's hand still wrapped around his. For the first time in a long time, he was not running from something. He was running toward something. Something beautiful. Something real. And it had all started with one small act of mercy on a broken battlefield. Sometimes, the greatest rewards were not medals or riches. Sometimes they were the people who stayed when the rest of the world turned away. And in the vastness of space, a human medic and a rebellious alien princess would write a new story, one of hope, courage, and unbreakable bond, together, always.